welcome to the vlog for How to Train Your Dragon 2, a movie we just saw over the weekend. This is Marcus, this is Nicholas, these are my roommates, or I'm their roommate. First off, I want to mention the soundtrack and the songs, just the sounds of the movie, in paving the way for the rest of the movie. From the moment the movie opens, the opening credits to the ending credits, all of the songs and the sounds were just bigger. It helped paint a, it helped convince me that this was a bigger movie, the sequel to one of the best movies of all time, but...
yeah, well, the whole movie is like that, because if you watch the show, and I've seen a few episodes...
Yeah, they have a cartoon show for these movies as well, like with Kung Fu Panda.
And when I watched it, I thought to myself, well, this looks just like the movie. I was impressed.
Right, we were all probably thinking, this seems very movie quality, and then
and you go see the movie,
and you're like, it's nothing. Like the movie is so much bigger.
Right, it's almost movie quality, the series, but not quite.
Yeah, no, and then you get to the theater.
It's produced much more cheaply.
Yeah,
it uses the same models and such, but it's not the same quality,
not the same
I guess.
level of detail.
Right.
When you see the village in the movie,
you're seeing everything.
Yeah, it looks like a huge village full of people.
Right, and maybe I guess that is just the difference between TV and movies. Is the TV, it was good enough for TV, but you go to the movie and you expect an experience.
The TV have to get it done faster.
Right.
And cheaper.
Yeah.
Well,
And what carried it through the TV series was that it had great stories and great characters. Whereas a movie, people might have been going to see How to Train Your Dragon 2 without seeing How to Train Your Dragon 1,
the movie is set a few years.
About 5 years.
5 years.
5 years after the first movie, yeah.
So they were like 15 in the first one?
Yes, then they were like 14 or 15, so now they're all just about post-teenager, 21-year-olds, so... I really liked the movie, just everything felt bigger. It felt like... This was a sequel where it really felt like the producers, directors, even the actors, looked at the first movie and said, we need to do this even better in the second movie. The acting was amazing. I really liked all of the voice actors. Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, not America.
No, I think it's America Ferrera.
Is it America Ferrera? Okay, cool. It's just a really weird name, but as Astrid.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned that you really liked the way they shot, or they had the mother. Not even a spoiler. They spoiled.
Are we gonna have spoilers in this?
There will be a few spoilers. I'm gonna try to avoid the big major one. Although I did call it before we even mentioned the movie.
Talk about it then.
Okay,
right?
yeah, I guess.
Spoilers, guys.
Sorry, spoilers. But you mentioned the way the mother moved.
Yeah, there's the new character in the movie is we get to meet Hiccup's mother, and her story is that she's been basically living with dragons for 20 years.
Living with wolves, except that breathe fire and have wings, and they're just fucking awesome.
It's sort of practically Gollum-like in how she moves.
Yeah, it served to convince us.
They convey a lot about her character in various ways, other than not necessarily showing us flashbacks or giving us exposition, but we see things like we see how she moves.
Right. No,
like
it's actually
animal.
That's actually a good point. I hadn't thought of that before. I think people have mentioned the way she moves, but I think you just brought up something to me, which is the way she moves is her dialogue, like it is with the dragons. They're so expressive, and she's so expressive in how she moves. You can basically hear her saying words with the way she moves.
Yeah. In fact, when she first meets Hiccup, she actually seems to have difficulty speaking.
Right.
Almost.
Probably hasn't talked in 20 years.
Yeah, no, and I actually just mentioned this before we started, but that first scene where Hiccup and her first interact, I really like how they shot it. The cinematography in this was just simply amazing. It's a really dark cave for this scene, and you can't really see a lot. You can see outlines, you can see the characters, but barely. And then she does her little dragon commandy thing, and all of the dragons' mouths light up.
Right.
As if to give them this atmosphere of kind of, not subservience, but very casual talking atmosphere. Like, oh, you need light to be able to talk.
Right.
Here's our dragon flames. And it's so cool to me.
And again, that tells us a lot about her character.
Right.
And we're seeing it just in how the dragons react to her.
Right. And then we move on to the Bewilderbeast, and I thought it was so much of a better explanation. Just, oh look, there's an alpha.
Right.
And and he has spoilers, he has mind control. And it's like, so that's why they listen to him.
Right.
I
never got that from the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Like, there's a giant
Yeah,
dragon monster?
I never got the impression that the Red Death, or whatever it was called, used mind control. It just seemed like they were afraid it was going to eat them, even though it was way slower than they were.
Right. Why did it fly away?
Right, but we got, and I appreciate we got some sort of explanation for that.
That idea is revisited here.
Right,
and
actually, just in general, they mentioned, there's a line in the movie, all dragons have their secrets, and I'll teach them all to you. And you get a sampling of that throughout the movie. You see these dragons doing these new things from,
That's true.
Very different from the first movie, and you're like, oh, it's absolutely true. We don't know everything yet, and it makes us. I mean, it's really nice to look forward to something. I know that I think they've announced that they are going to do full 3 movies. This is going to be a trilogy. They already announced that I think How to Train Your Dragon 2 is going to be in like 2016 or whatever.
Right.
But it's something to really look forward to. Is this promise of, hey, next time it's going to be even bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to see the characters, not just the human characters grow up, but you're going to see the dragons
evolve and change, speaking of the human characters, the only real nitpick I have about this movie is that while they did focus on the side characters in the TV series, and a lot in the first movie, they're kind of gone. I mean, they're there, they're very funny, they're very well voice acted.
Right.
There are some really hilarious moments with these characters. But mostly you see Hiccup, his mom, and his dad, and this is the major spoiler, his dad dies. And that is it's not even a nitpick. I'm just angry at this movie for doing that. I know why they did it. I understand. I completely appreciate that they are going to be a little bit more mature with this series, especially since it's a movie that anyone can go see. So you're bringing your 5-year-old and you're showing them somebody die.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but when they killed him, I called it before the movie. I said to these two, you know what? I think they're going to kill off the dad, and they did. And I was just like, you get to know him so well over the course of the first movie, the TV series, and this movie, because they only kill him. They kill him about halfway into this movie, and it's
towards the end.
I guess it's halfway or towards the end, and it's really a painful moment because I'm like, I knew it was going to happen, and I really hated it. I was like, they don't need to do this because while I think it'll make the other characters better characters. But I like that. But I like so much.
Yeah.
It's like, couldn't he have stuck around?
He's become one of my favorite characters in the whole franchise, in the whole story. Because I think he's one of the more interesting characters.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fully fleshed out dad.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that
And he does
any movie, really.
He does things that you don't necessarily expect.
Right.
Sometimes he will play into type, and sometimes he'll play against type.
Just like an actual person.
Right, exactly.
And when I actually mentioned it, you did not believe me, and I can understand why.
Well, I don't really remember saying that so far definitively that they wouldn't kill him. I just said that they didn't have to.
Right.
That's not necessarily going to happen.
Well, that's true. It
I want to avoid thinking of it as a spoiler, more of a
hypothesis.
Yeah. I mean, and
speculation.
Right.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is I had mentioned it, and I even mentioned that I didn't want it to happen. Something I did think was going to happen. What do you think about it happening? I mean, I told you I didn't want it to happen, and I think you didn't want it to happen, as far as I can tell. What do you mean?
Well, it was definitely an emotional moment. They just didn't just kill him and say, "Well, he's dead. Let's move on."
Right.
And I'm just hoping that they actually are going somewhere by killing him rather than just saying, "Hey, this will make people pissed off."
Yes. Yeah, I mean there's you know
There's got to be a payoff.
Not
for
just
that.
a shock death.
right. No, and I don't think it would. I mean, we saw it wasn't just a shock death. And what I'm actually really happy about is after they killed him. Didn't like the fact they did, but after they killed him, there was none of this Hollywood angst you see in so many movies.
Mm-hmm.
Someone dies, and the
Right.
protagonist or whoever it affects is paralyzed for the rest of the movie. It's just like, oh, my life cannot go on. It's like, it really can. I mean, he's 20. If your parent died at 20, you'd be much more prepared for it than if you were at 15 or 10 or whatever. And he acts like, and Hiccup, the protagonists, all act their age. They all come to terms with it appropriately.
He freaks out at first,
Right.
but he comes to terms with it pretty quickly. And that's
Right.
sort of a good character thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's writing. It's
Right.
writing your characters well.
Right. Well, they're Vikings.
Yeah.
So they're used to
Uh,
that stuff.
Yeah, and actually, now that we've talked about the humans mostly, oh my god, the dragons in this movie.
Yeah. I had forgotten that I was looking forward to seeing the dragons behave so much like animals, or should I say dogs?
Or cats.
Because all animals are dogs.
Yes, there's that. Yes, all animals are dogs and cats.
Except when they're cats or birds.
Yes, exactly.
But mostly they're dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that first trailer and seeing that interaction between Toothless and Hiccup, and that occurs at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you are a one-legged Viking, would you?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I remember seeing that thing, thinking, yeah, that's how they acted the movie, or the series.
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing that, and then I kind of forgotten about it. Even when you asked me before we went to see the movie, what are you looking forward to, I couldn't think of anything.
Right.
And then I saw then the movie started, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, the dragons in this movie, they pull a few really neat tricks. A lot of it is very background, and it doesn't intrude on the foreground scene. But if you're able to pay attention to both the foreground and the background, not only will you be laughing your ass off, but you will really get a sense that these dragons are basically people or dogs or real characters as well.
Because you get to see them interact with each other
Right.
and stuff.
Right, and I mean, I think a big selling point for this movie that they had talked up was, you're going to see dragons versus dragons and dragons versus people and people versus people. Well, guess what? I was so much more interested in seeing the dragons versus everybody else, because in the first movie, it was the dragons weren't really villains, but they were the ones you didn't really know anything about. And they played on that in this movie by saying, you know what, you don't really know anything about them. Let's have you find out. And you really kind of got the sense of, oh, we are going to find out something, and it was something to look forward to. I want to know what Toothless can do. I want to know what Storeply can do. I really got into the fact that this is a world that is so much, it's so full of life, it's so very alive that you kind of want to see more of it. None of the scenes really felt unnecessary, because I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I want to get to the next scene. It's, I want this scene to last as long as possible, because I want to just soak in everything they're telling me. Once again, there are a few new characters. I thought the dragons were best. In a movie about dragons, the dragons should and were should be and were the best part of the movie. It was such a unique experience, especially for a summer blockbuster. We're starting off summer. I kind of went into it thinking, all right, it'll be about as good as the first one, I bet. And I was completely blown away. I was so glad to be wrong, and it was just so much better.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. The ending has, once again, sorry, spoilers. The ending has this neat little parallel where Hiccup and Toothless both become essentially the chiefs of their people or species, or
That's a good point.
and it's something I'm thinking they will play on in this series, because they announced another season of the TV series.
Yeah.
But I think even more so in the third movie, they're going to really play this up as this boy and this dragon are now almost exactly the same. Just one's a dragon. And I'm really looking forward to that. You guys have any thoughts on
that alpha state he goes into?
Yes,
yeah,
the Godzilla Charizard X.
Yeah, he's frozen
evolution.
the evil bewildered beast. There's two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it freezes Toothless in that
giant ice.
That iceberg and freezes out.
Yeah.
And then the iceberg glows and it explodes, and Toothless is glowing like Godzilla before doing fire its atomic breath.
Yeah.
And
Godzilla's strongest attack.
It's Alpha Toothless, basically.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So they both got promotions.
They both got promotions.
Yeah. And I remember I was watching that scene, and as that glacier just starts to glow, I just in my head I'm going something like Toothless Digivolve 2, and then it bursts out. Crap, he actually digivolved. Now he's Alpha Night Furymon.
I had a very similar thought, although my thought was more from a critic or a snarky bastard standpoint of this was a better Godzilla movie than Godzilla was, because there was not a lot of Godzilla in the Godzilla movie, and I'm like, you know what? I need more Godzilla. I saw the movie. I am actually not a big monster fan yet. And I went to see the movie with these two, and I was like, you know what, it might be. And then I saw it, and I'm like, I want more Godzilla, because there wasn't enough.
Exactly.
And then I went to see How to Train Your Dragon, and I'm like, you know what, Godzilla should have been exactly like this. Godzilla would have been so much better if it was How to Train Your Dragon too. I loved every minute of it. I am so glad I went. I am really looking forward to the third one.
Yeah.
If I had notes about the second one that I would have taken, it was that they really upped the ante with the cinematography. I hear the 3D is great. I want to go back and see it in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard.
I hope I get something out of the 3D, because I have to wear glasses just to see a 2D movie.
Right. Yeah.
To see a 3D movie, I need another pair of glasses over that.
I saw the original How to Train Your Dragons 6 times.
I'm not sure if it works.
I saw the original How to Train Your Dragon 6 times, and that was actually in theaters.
How many of those were in 3D?
Half of them were in 3D. For the other half, I didn't actually have the money, and I was like,
Right.
I saw it. Actually, I did see it once though in IMAX 3D. And I was just like, you know what, this is a movie, okay, on the technical standpoint, one of the other things I really liked about this movie, this is a movie that proves 3D is a thing. It deserves its own nice little niche in movies. And this is a movie, and the previous one was a movie, as far as I mean, I've seen the first one, I thought that about the first one, I've heard this about the second one, that this is a movie that proves 3D is going to stick around for a while and can be done really well. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it in 3D at some point.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, we really should. Other than that, one thing you mentioned, and I kind of want to wrap this up. Sorry, we're taking so long. But
I have like 2 more things I want to bring up. But
no, we can bring them up. But you mentioned beforehand, before even going to see the movie, you really liked the costume redesigns. And I do too, but I don't even know why. I see them and I'm just like, that makes sense. I'm just like, you know what, that's totally what they should be wearing at this point in their lives.
Right.
I don't know, you mentioned it and I'm wondering, why bring that up? I'm sure you have a reason. I really like them. I want to know.
Well, now I feel like since you brought up the costumes, and now I'm thinking about how Hiccup was dressed, we got to bring up the gadgets.
Oh God, that was so amazing. Just like knife, compass, map, just everything.
The flame sword.
The flame sword, so good. Just like if you want a fantasy weapon, I want that flame sword. And the funny thing is, it had a practical purpose. It's explained as his dragon training tool, but to train a dragon. You want to show the dragons you kind of are, part of their culture. So breathing fire is his sword, and
it's not just a sword with a blazing blade.
Right.
Actually, it's also a pretty much a gas grenade because
Right.
it spews out
Right, just like it spews gas like a dragon.
Zizzleback.
Yeah, zippleback.
Zippleback gas.
And then ignites it.
And then ignites it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the costume and the gadgets go crazy. I really liked them.
Yeah.
I would say that my best praise of it is just it made so much sense.
Yeah.
It just made sense to me. It felt really natural.
You see the Zipplebacks doing the flame wheel attack?
Yes.
During the
Yes.
big battle?
Yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting because I'm like, you know what? That makes sense too.
Right.
It's, alright, no, in the first movie, the Zippleback, a two-headed dragon, one breathes gas, one lights it on fire. But we also saw the monstrous nightmare who lit itself on fire.
Yeah, expect the monstrous nightmare to do an attack like that, but not
No,
so much the Zippleback.
but it just showed us what they can do with all of the dragons. It was like,
Right.
you know, it was really, really nice.
Yeah, another example of them, gaining new, or
Yeah.
showing us new abilities. And
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I mean, they really, I guess, they really thought this through. And that's something that's nice to see in the movie. They weren't just sitting around going, we're going to make a sequel. They were going, we're going to make the best damn movie we possibly can. And I really appreciated that. You said you had...
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with the alpha dragons,
Mhm.
just kind of makes me think about how like it's all these different dragons, but they're all kind of like the same species in a way.
Yeah.
And then you have these even bigger super dragons
Uh-huh.
that mind control the other dragons.
Right.
So I have to wonder if
It's totally a parallel of human beings.
yeah. I'm just thinking that
They're the celebrities, and they mind
I just
control
have
all of us.
my fan fiction sense is just kind of like, sci-fi twist to it,
Yeah.
where humans created dragons and maybe war machines, and the alpha dragons are what they use to control the other
Right.
dragons.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it worked in the movie.
Yeah.
With the villain and everything.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh my god, that villain.
Yeah.
I am so glad they had him, but he was just a douche. Like, gigantic. I mean, there was no reason for what he was doing.
Mhm.
Like, his explanation was total BS, because every other character in the movie has an interaction with a dragon, and they've kind of come to the, into their own by saying, you know what, let's have some common sense. They're just like us. They have worries, they have needs, they have a sense of joy. He's just like, no, I'm just gonna burn all the world because,
And is it just me, or does he look like the Winter Soldier on steroids?
he kind of does.
With the rope.
He's
Yeah,
got the
mechanical
red locks,
arm.
he's got the mechanical arm.
I know. As you can tell, we went to see a lot of movies recently. But, yeah, just...
My favorite moment with him, though, is one of the first ones.
It's where he walks through the fire, isn't it? With the cape.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
That was badass. And that was the moment I'm like, you know what? We got a real villain.
Right.
It was so good. I really don't have too much else to say, and at the same time, I could go on forever.
Right. We should wrap up.
We should wrap up. I don't want
It's a
to.
super long video.
Yeah, shut up. But to wrap up,
Huh?
I will say I enjoyed this movie, and the third one can't come soon enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
Oh, yeah.
I like
All right, signing off, everybody. Take care. Go see How to Train Your Dragon 2.
See ya.